The sun hung low over the hidden leaf village, casting long shadows across the training grounds where Naruto Uzumaki stood, panting heavily after another grueling session. Sweat dripped from his brow as he wiped it away with the back of his hand, his bright blue eyes narrowed in determination. "I've got to get stronger," he muttered to himself, clenching his fists. The Chunin exams were just around the corner, and the memory of his recent defeat at the hands of Sasuke still burned in his mind. He needed an edge, something unpredictable, something no one would see coming. Nearby, Sakura Haruno watched him with a mix of concern and admiration. "You're pushing yourself too hard, Naruto," she called out, but he just grinned back at her, that trademark reckless energy flashing in his expression. "No such thing as too hard when I've got people to protect." His words were bold, but beneath them lay a gnawing frustration. No matter how many shadow clones he made or how much he trained, it never felt like enough. As the evening deepened, Naruto decided to take a detour through the forest, hoping the quiet would help him think. The rustling leaves and distant chirping of crickets were soothing, but his thoughts were anything but calm. Then, something caught his eye, a glint of parchment half buried beneath a gnarled root. Curious, he crouched down and brushed away the dirt, revealing an old, weathered scroll sealed with a strange emblem he didn't recognize. "What the heck is this?" he murmured, turning it over in his hands. The moment his fingers touched the seal, it glowed faintly before dissolving into smoke. Before he could react, a sudden rustle in the bushes made him snap to attention. A masked figure lunged at him, kunai flashing in the dim light. Naruto barely managed to leap back, his instincts kicking in as he formed a quick hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 copies of himself burst into existence, charging at the attacker. The masked foe moved with eerie precision, weaving through the clones and dispelling them with sharp, calculated strikes. Naruto gritted his teeth. This wasn't some random thug. This guy was skilled. The attacker didn't speak, his movements fluid as he flipped backward, landing in a crouch before hurling a barrage of shuriken. Naruto ducked and rolled, but one grazed his arm, drawing a thin line of blood. "TCH, not bad," he admitted, smirking despite the sting. He wasn't about to back down. Channeling chakra into his palm, he formed a swirling sphere of blue energy, the Rasengan. With a fierce cry, he dashed forward, aiming straight for the enemy's chest. But the masked figure did something unexpected. Instead of dodging, he met the attack head-on, his hands moving in a rapid sequence of seals. The moment Naruto's Rasengan connected, the energy didn't explode outward, it reversed, surging back into Naruto's own body with double the force. The blast sent him flying, crashing through branches before slamming into a tree trunk. Gasping for air, he stared in disbelief. "What was that?" The attacker finally spoke, his voice low and mocking. "Foolish boy. That scroll you found isn't just some relic, it's a key to power beyond your comprehension." He stepped closer, his presence suffocating. "And now, it's mine." Naruto forced himself to his feet, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. "Like hell I'm letting you take it." He wasn't just fighting for himself now, he was fighting for whatever secrets that scroll held, for the village, for his dreams. With renewed resolve, he formed another hand sign, but this time, something felt different. The scroll in his pouch pulsed with energy, and for the first time, Naruto wondered if he'd stumbled onto something far bigger than he realized. The battle was far from over. The air crackled with tension as Naruto tightened his grip on the ancient scroll, its surface humming with untapped power. Around him, the battlefield lay scarred from previous clashes, trees splintered and earth upturned. Sasuke's Sharingan burned crimson, analyzing every twitch of Naruto's muscles, while Sakura crouched low, her fists clenched and healing chakra flickering at her fingertips. Across from them, a masked figure, an unknown enemy, stood motionless, his presence oppressive, his intent clear. He wanted the scroll. Naruto wasted no time. With a burst of speed, he lunged forward, unfurling the scroll mid-motion. The enemy reacted instantly, weaving hand signs with terrifying precision. Fire style, Great Flame Jutsu. A torrent of fire roared toward Naruto, but he grinned, slamming the scroll open. The flames twisted mid-air, reversing direction and engulfing the enemy instead. The masked figure barely dodged, his cloak singed, but his eyes narrowed in understanding. "So that's its power," he muttered. Sasuke seized the opening, his Chidori screeching to life as he dashed in, lightning clawing at the air. The enemy countered with a water wall, but Naruto flipped the scroll again, turning the water into a swirling vortex that trapped the foe momentarily. Sakura followed up, her fist crashing into the ground with enough force to split the earth, forcing the enemy airborne. Yet, he twisted mid-flight, hurling a barrage of kunai laced with explosive tags. Naruto intercepted, using the scroll to invert the explosions, sending the blast backward in a deafening shockwave. The masked figure landed gracefully, his breathing steady despite the onslaught. "Impressive," he admitted, "but you're still amateurs." His hands moved faster than before, and the ground beneath them erupted in a storm of earth spikes. Sasuke activated his Mangekyo Sharingan, predicting the attack and yanking Naruto and Sakura clear. "He's adapting," Sasuke hissed. "We need to end this now." Naruto nodded, channeling Kurama's chakra. Orange energy flared around him, his eyes slitting as tails of chakra lashed out. "Let's hit him with everything," he roared, charging again. The enemy smirked, forming a single hand sign. Suddenly, shadow clones of himself materialized, each mirroring his movements perfectly. Sakura gritted her teeth. "Genjutsu?" she guessed, but Sasuke shook his head. "No, they're real." The clones attacked in unison, forcing Team 7 on the defensive. Naruto's clones clashed with them, fists meeting fists in a blur of motion, but the enemy's skill was undeniable. Every strike was calculated, every dodge effortless. Sasuke's Susanoo flared to life, skeletal arms swinging to crush the clones, but the real enemy slipped past, his kunai aimed for Naruto's throat. Sakura intercepted, her punch shattering the blade, but the enemy twisted, landing a brutal kick to her ribs, sending her skidding back. Naruto's anger flared. "You bastard!" He poured more chakra into the scroll, its symbols glowing violently. "Let's see how you handle this." He slammed it into the ground, and the battlefield itself seemed to warp. Gravity inverted, sending the enemy tumbling upward. Sasuke capitalized, launching a fireball that Naruto reversed mid-flight, doubling its speed and power. The explosion lit up the sky, and for a moment, it seemed over. But the masked figure emerged from the smoke, his cloak tattered but his stance unbroken. "You've forced me to get serious," he said coldly. His chakra surged, dark and suffocating, as markings spread across his skin, a forbidden power. The air itself grew heavy, and Naruto felt his muscles strain under the pressure. Sasuke's Susanoo flared brighter, its ribcage forming armor. "We can't hold back anymore," he said, his voice edged with desperation. Sakura wiped blood from her lip, her healing chakra knitting her wounds. "One last push," she agreed. Naruto's eyes met theirs, and without words, they moved as one. Sasuke's Amaterasu ignited the enemy's path, while Naruto hurled a Rasen Shuriken, its winds howling. The enemy dodged, but Sakura was already there, her fist connecting with his gut, the impact cratering the ground beneath them. The scroll's power flared once more, and Naruto inverted the enemy's own chakra flow, causing him to stagger, his technique faltering. With a final roar, Sasuke's Susanoo blade came down, Naruto's Rasengan spiraling beside it, and Sakura's chakra-enhanced punch struck true. The combined force erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, light swallowing everything. When the dust settled, the enemy lay defeated, his mask shattered, his breathing labored. Naruto panted, the scroll's glow fading. "We did it," he managed. But as the adrenaline ebbed, a shadow loomed behind them, another figure, watching silently. The real battle was just beginning. The battlefield was a storm of dust and chakra, the air thick with the scent of burning earth and ozone. Naruto's breath came in ragged gasps as he skidded backward, his feet carving trenches into the ground. Across from him, the enemy, cloaked in swirling shadows, grinned, their crimson eyes gleaming with malice. "You're outmatched, Uzumaki," they taunted, raising a hand as dark energy crackled around their fingers. "No jutsu can save you now." But Naruto's grip tightened around the scroll tucked into his belt, its ancient seals humming against his skin. This was it, the final gamble. He'd spent days deciphering its secrets, learning how it could invert any technique's effect. A fireball could freeze, a healing spell could wound. And now, with his allies battered and the village on the brink, there was no room for hesitation. Sasuke lunged first, his Sharingan spinning wildly as he unleashed a blazing inferno-style fireball. The enemy smirked, weaving hand signs to absorb it, until Naruto unfurled the scroll and channeled his chakra. The flames twisted mid-air, transforming into a wave of icy shards that tore through the enemy's defenses. They staggered, shock flashing across their face as frost crawled up their arms. Impossible. Sakura didn't waste the opening. Her fist, charged with monstrous strength, cratered the ground as she closed the distance. But the enemy recovered fast, dodging and retaliating with a whip of shadow that sent her flying. Naruto's heart clenched as she crashed into a boulder, but her voice cut through the chaos. "Now, Naruto." He was already moving, shadow clones multiplying in a golden blur. Each clone hurled a Rasengan, and with the scroll's power, the spiraling orbs didn't explode, they imploded, creating vacuums that ripped at the enemy's form. The battlefield shuddered, the very air screaming in protest. Yet the enemy stood, bleeding but unbroken, their laughter raw with fury. You'll have to do better than that. Sasuke's Susanoo flared to life, a skeletal giant swinging its sword. Naruto synchronized with him, Kurama's chakra enveloping him as he leapt onto the blade. The scroll's seals glowed brighter, and as the sword descended, Naruto inverted its nature. Instead of slashing, it healed. The enemy's wounds sealed shut, but their chakra pathways recoiled in overload, their body locking up in agony. No, this isn't. Sakura was there in an instant, her fist driving into their gut with a shockwave that shattered the earth beneath them. The enemy gasped, blood spraying as they crumpled. The shadows around them dissolved, revealing a face twisted in disbelief. You turned my own power against me. Naruto landed beside them, the scroll's light fading. Yeah, he panted, wiping sweat from his brow. And we'd do it again. Silence fell, heavy and final. The enemy's eyes dimmed, their body dissolving into motes of fading chakra. The storm above cleared, sunlight piercing through for the first time in days. In the aftermath, the village began to rebuild, but the world had shifted. The scroll's existence was sealed away, its power too dangerous to remain unchecked. Yet its lessons lingered. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had broken their limits not through sheer force, but through adaptability, trust, and the willingness to redefine the impossible. As the sun set, Naruto looked out over Konoha, his friends at his side. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear, they'd face it together, unshaken. The battle was over, but their story? That was just beginning.